So now we bring up this complex interface, and where this came up is once we selected all the holes, it automatically pops up. And it looks pretty complex. We're only going to use a few parts. You don't have to worry about everything here. But basically, this is where we choose the tool we want to use. We choose how deep we want to go, and other things like that. And so the first thing that we typically do is we just go through this list here. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is notice it. Tool path type, by default, drill is chosen because we chose drill to begin with. There's other things that you can do, threaded mills and things like that, but we're just going to be drilling. So the next thing that you're going to do is select the tool. So you go to Tool, and then what you're going to do is go select Library Tool. Notice that the file, it's going to draw from a specific library of tools, and right now it's set to TRC Tooling. TRC Tooling is Tahoma Robotics Club Tooling. That's a specific folder that we set up, and so it's just going there. And these are our specific tools that we have in our shop. And so it gives us a filtered list because it's really only going to give us things that typically drill. If we unfilter it, it would give us all the tools that we have. Okay, but we're going to just go back to filter, and we're going to look at this list. And the tool we're going to use is the number 9 drill bit. Tool number 16 is the number 9 drill bit with a diameter of 0.196 inches. And so I'm just going to select that and hit check mark. And so that says, okay, now we have that tool. Tool number 16 is selected. Notice it gives some information about the tool, the diameter, the feed rate, and how many RPMs and things like that. That is something we set up for this specific tool, and so when the machine sees that, it will only move at 10 inches per second, and it will spin at a rate of 800 RPMs. And so those are things that we set up. Notice there's also a feed rate is how fast the table moves in the XY plane, and the plunge rate is how fast the head of the mill moves in the Z direction. So it will go down at a maximum of 6 inches per second or per minute, and it would go retract at 20 inches per minute. And so you don't have to worry about those speeds in Mastercam because that's chosen for you based on the specific tool that you choose. The next thing that we're going to go to is we don't have to worry about the holder. This is specific to if you have an automatic tool changer, etc. So don't worry about that. Now we go to cut parameters, and we're basically going to tell it to drill, and by default that's what it's selected as. The other thing that you can typically do is maybe use a peck drill. A peck drill is, let's say you're drilling through a very thick amount of material. You don't want to just plunge it in and never pull out, because what would happen is the bit would just fill up with material, and so to break the chips, it goes up and down a certain amount based on specific parameters here. But we're just going to go do a straight drill because it's only an 1/8 inch thick, and so we're just going to make sure that that's okay. Selected as drill by default. The next thing that we're going to do is linking parameters. Linking parameters is basically telling you how deep you want to drill. And the first thing that I want you always to do is click absolute, and that basically is the absolute position. So what it's saying is when it retracts up to this position here, it is going to be 100 thousandths of an inch above the surface of the material. And by default, that's what we just keep it at. You really don't need it any higher unless you have maybe a clamp that's going over the surface of your material that you need to, of your stock that you need to clear. Since we don't have that, we're just holding it with a vise. We're just going to have 0.1 inches. The top of the stock is typically always at Z0. And then we go to depth. Again, click absolute. And depth is going to be in the negative direction. You don't want to go just the thickness of the material because you have a pointed bit. And so, in fact, I go quite a bit deeper. I go, in fact, at least 1/4 inch for 1/8 inch material, maybe even a little bit more. So maybe like 0.3 inches would be fine. So negative 0.3 inches, and then I can hit